Hi, I'm Janet. I'm the Hot Mess Car Medium, and this is where we get into all of it. This is the show for moms who feel everything, sense everything, and are still trying to figure out what to do with all of that. Some episodes will make you laugh, some might make you cry, and some might make you check if your lights are flickering. So grab your coffee and buckle up, Buttercup. Hey, welcome to Hot Mess Car Medium. I'm Janet. And before I was a medium, before I even had a word for what that was, I was a kid who woke up at 6:45 one Monday morning knowing something I had absolutely no business knowing. And I didn't tell a single soul for 20 years. And this is where it started. I need to take you back to a normal Sunday night in 8th grade. I was at home. It was just my mom and me. Normal night getting ready for the next day of school and work. Nothing unusual except that it was not normal evening by any means. We started noticing these plastic bottles just popping, like the soda bottles. And then my mom, who had worn glasses her entire life, terrible eyesight since she was a toddler, multiple surgeries, comes up to me after her shower and says, "Janet, I can see." She could see perfectly. And we were both standing there like, what? And we got as many things as she could read, big print, small print. She read them all. And we're like, well, maybe it's a miracle. And you don't need glasses anymore or forever. We were excited, but also weirded out, like a lot. We laughed it off the way you do when something's weird, but you don't have a category for it. So you just kind of dismiss it like, yeah, that's fun. But something felt really different that night. And yes, the bottles were still popping while she was reading these very small print without her glasses. As a side note, bottles are still the way that spirit talks to me. It's weird, I know. It's like, hey, pay attention, or hey, don't pick up your phone while you're driving. And I thought it was normal, I guess, just because it's happened to me all my life. So I asked my husband, hey, you know when like plastic bottles pop because of the pressure, but no one's touching them? And he's like, excuse me? I'm like, yeah, you know, when they're like in the room and the bottles just pop and no one's near them. And he's like, yeah, that doesn't happen to anyone unless someone has it in their hand and does it. And I'm like, okay, but for real life, that doesn't happen to you? He's like, no, that's never happened. These conversations happen almost all the time with him. I love that man so much because he just rolls with it. So shout out to you, babe. I love you. Anyway, back to that night. Weird stuff, but something felt like it was paying attention. Super strange. I went to bed and I didn't know what to make of it, so I just thought, I'll just go to sleep. Normal Monday. And then I had the dream. So 2 of my best friends from class, I'll call them Mina and Jason, they came to me in this dream. I want to be really clear about how this felt because it was nothing like a normal dream. Normal dreams, at least for me, feel fuzzy and weird, and suddenly you're in elementary school, and then suddenly you're in high school and you're not wearing pants. That is a dream that is a typical dream for me. This was not that. It was clear, deliberate. They were calm, completely calm, which is kind of out of character for those 2 of my friends. And they were communicating with me telepathically. That I remember vividly. I knew what they were saying. I just didn't see their mouths move. And it was just this certain direct knowing going from them to me. And they were telling me, it's okay. What's going to happen is okay. And I thought, well, what's going to happen? What are you talking about? I'm freaking out in my dream because they're just telling me without any context. And then one by one, they get into our 1987 Astro van because that's what we had at the time. And each of them grabs one of the doors and they're just looking at me with this really calm look and just smiling. And they close the doors. And I'm like, wait, let me on. Like, I want to come with you. And they close them. And as soon as they do, there's this bright light, just huge, that flashes from inside of the van. And I wake up. And I look at the clock, and it's 6:45. It's not a time I would normally wake up because I live so close to the school that I would just kind of wake up as close as I can to the time I had to be there. So it was already weird that I woke up at that time, but I was visibly upset. I woke up feeling like I had just lost them. Maybe they hadn't died, but I felt like I would not see them again, and that hurt me. And even woken up, I could just still feel that sadness, and it was so heavy and it felt so real. But I thought, okay, well, I have to get to school, so we kind of have to shake it off, take a shower, and get ready to go. I stopped shaking a little bit, and I was able to get to school, but I was still trying to make sense of something that I had no frame of reference for at 13. And I didn't tell anyone. It just not something that would organically come up in conversation on a Monday morning. So I want you to imagine walking into school, middle school at that, and carrying the dream. Like you just have this thing sitting on your chest and you can't explain, you can't prove it, and you can't talk about it. Because everyone around you is just having their normal day. And you're like, well, something happened. I don't know what, but something happened. If you remember middle school, you go through a checklist of things you do in the morning. I guess kids still do that now. My daughter has to, go to breakfast, attendance, lunch, all of that. Well, we didn't do that morning. We were just taken to homeroom and sat there for a bit. And we weren't even allowed to put our things up. It was the strangest and eeriest feeling because we all knew something was wrong, but we didn't know what. And this was before any smartphones or Wi-Fi, so we were just in the dark. We had no idea. And the teachers were all very quiet and pensive and sad, and we were just even more confused. And you could feel the tension rising in the classroom because we were freaking out. Just a bunch of 13-year-olds and no one's telling us anything. Finally, our teacher came in and she told us there had been a really bad accident that morning. And I found out that my best friend at the time, I'll call her Veronica, had been in an accident and that her little sister, Mary, hadn't made it. And I just sat there and I felt that dream come back. And then I felt some eyes looking at me because that was my best friend. And how do you process it? And again, I saw my friends' faces, Mina and Jason, just looking at me saying, it's okay. If it happens this way, it's okay. They had come to prepare me, I guess, and I didn't even know what I was being prepared for, but it all made sense at this point. Now, here's the thing about grief that nobody talks about, and it's that sometimes you don't just lose the person who died. You don't lose them just physically. Sometimes you lose the people standing next to you, too. Veronica and I, though we were best friends for years, we really drifted after that, and grief can do that, and it does. It pulls people in different directions, and sometimes the directions come back together, and sometimes they don't. And I've thought about her so many times over the years, and I miss her, and I still carry the sadness for what we had that got lost. Maybe emotionally, as a 13-year-old, I didn't know how to process the grief and didn't know how to help her. I can't imagine what she went through if this was just my experience of my best friend losing her little sister. Looking back now, I wonder if that's what Mina and Jason were also trying to tell me in the dream. Not that Mary had to go, but that things were going to change and I was going to lose my best friend too, just more slowly and quietly. Maybe the okay wasn't just about Mary. It was probably also a little bit about Veronica and me. And then I just didn't talk about it for nearly 20 years. Because what do you say? I had a dream, 2 of my best friends came to me, closed the doors, and my best friend's little sister died. Like, that's not really an icebreaker story or something you bring up casually. So I carried it around, and I would go over it in my mind every once in a while, like, why would that happen to me? why would I have done that? I've wondered if I'd imagined it, but even retelling the story right now, I can feel the sadness I felt when I woke up from the dream. So I don't think I imagined it, because that's a deep-rooted emotion that I'm still feeling now. And every time something else happened, because things just kept happening, I added it to the pile of things I wasn't talking about to anyone. So if you've ever felt something really real that the world around you had no framework for, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the silence that kind of becomes your partner for a long, long time. The first time I ever told that story out loud, I was 32 years old. I love my daughter fiercely. It took me a while to admit that that's okay. If you've ever been in therapy, you know that it's all about bringing things to light that you've put away just to survive. And that was one of those stories. That wasn't the only story that I dug out of that vault, but each time a tense story resurfaced, it felt like I was unpacking 20-pound weights from my backpack. And eventually my backpack was light enough that I could graduate therapy. And I did in August of 2019. Then a month after that, Spirit thought it was a good enough time to tell me that I was ready. I was home sick from work, watching TV, minding my own business when the kitchen lights flickered. And it wasn't a bulb is about to go out kind of flickering. It was more like Morse code, just Morse code is all I could explain. And like a normal person, when something scares them happens, I just ignored it. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep watching Friends. That didn't just happen. And so that happened for a little while. Then when they realized I wasn't paying attention to that, from across the room in my daughter's bookshelf was her Jesus Loves Me songbook that started playing. Now this book only played if you opened it, and it was sandwiched between a ton of other books on that shelf with no room to open, not even slightly. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't ignore that. Jesus Loves Me is playing. My first thought was absolute fear, because that's normal, right? And it was followed by, it's my grandma. I just knew it was her. But despite knowing it was her and having that feeling, that warm, yes, it's her, I was scared to death. So I pulled the blanket over my head and, pretended to sleep. A few days later, I said to my husband, hey, I think weird things are happening, so I need to see a medium. And he's like, what? So that conversation didn't go very far. But I did look for a medium, and I found one of the most compassionate and gentlest souls to ever walk the face of the earth, who also happened to be a medium. Her name is Kristen, and she's an amazing person and has been a teacher and a mentor since then. She gave me my first reading, and it was amazing, awesome, but also shocking in a good way. And I will dive into that in episode 2, so stay tuned.